Good evening. Welcome to North West Tonight with Annabelle Tiffin. Our top story, a prison governor who had a relationship with a drug-dealing gang boss is jailed for 9 years.
This is a gross breach of trust. It affects everyone who works in criminal justice and the reputation of all of those who work in criminal justice.
Kerry Pegg was seen as a rising star of the prison service before her relationship was exposed. Also tonight, the nuclear testing veterans campaigning for justice for what they call a 60-year national scandal. The fundraising teenagers who've recovered from life-threatening illnesses to take on the Great Manchester Run. Can an FA Cup triumph rescue Manchester City's season as they prepare for their third successive Wembley showdown?
And the UK has already seen more sunshine this spring than we did during the whole of summer last year. But is it set to continue for the weekend? Join me later in the programme to find out.
Former governor at Kirkham Prison in Lancashire has been jailed for 9 years after having a relationship with a drug-dealing gang boss. 42-year-old Kerry Pegg was seen as a rising star within the prison service before her relationship with inmate Anthony Saunderson was uncovered. Last month, the jury took just a couple of hours to find her guilty of misconduct in a public office. Well, Matt Trewern is at Preston Crown Court for us this evening. Matt.
Well, yes, Kerry Pegg, who was a respected prison governor, is tonight back in jail, starting a 9-year sentence. There was no real reaction from her as she was led down from the dock. She just glanced briefly at her family who were sat in the public gallery behind her. Now, her fall from grace began when she was in charge at Kirkham, which is an open prison, and she started this relationship with the Liverpool gang boss Anthony Saunderson, who police say was a major organised crime figure. Her colleagues in the prison service say that the two were spending more and more time together, and to the point when Pegg actually broke prison rules by signing off his temporary day release. And detectives say that the relationship continued even after he left prison.
It risks the loss of confidence in prison officers and staff right across the country. You know, we have 16 prisons in the northwest. It calls into question the relationships that those staff have with the prisoners every day.
So, Matt, how did the police find out about this relationship?
Well, after leaving prison, Anthony Saunderson quickly returned to his life of serious organised crime. And when detectives cracked his encrypted mobile phone messages, it was then that they uncovered this relationship that he was having with his former prison governor. They found out that Pegg, who was deeply in debt, had accepted a £12,000 car as a gift from her boyfriend, and that was a car that was paid for in drugs, literally paid for in drugs, 36 kilograms of amphetamines. The court here heard today that Pegg must have known where Saunderson was getting his money from. At her flat in Wigan, they found his DNA on a toothbrush and on a pair of sliders, and she had a burner mobile phone that she was only using to communicate with him. Now, he is back in jail. He's serving a 35-year sentence for large-scale drug trafficking, and the prosecutor in the case says that Pegg's behaviour could seriously damage the reputation of the entire criminal justice system.
This is a gross breach of trust. It affects everyone who works in criminal justice and the reputation of all of those who work in criminal justice. I'm a lawyer, but when people can behave like Kerry Pegg did, how can they trust me?
Now, Judge Graham Knowles, KC, told Kerry Pegg this afternoon that her relationship with Saunderson was shocking. He said that it was utterly intolerable that a governor should be involved in corruption. You betrayed the public trust in you, he said, and you betrayed the prison service.
Matt, thanks very much. A Rochdale man who took part in nuclear tests in the 1950s is asking police to investigate what he calls a 60-year injustice. 87-year-old John Morris is part of a group of veterans that has lodged a criminal complaint about the Ministry of Defence over an alleged cover-up about radiation exposure. Mr Morris witnessed 4 hydrogen bomb explosions during his time on Christmas Island in the Pacific. He says many of them have suffered long-term health problems, but their medical records are missing vital test results. Well, I met with John earlier today, who told me that they'd gone to the police as a last resort.
It took an awful lot of effort on my behalf and others to go to this length. It is totally unnecessary. The 500-page dossier that we have presented to the police is literally a ticking time bomb that will blow apart the establishment.
This is all about what happened to you on Christmas Island.
Yes.
And your medical records. There are things on your medical records that you believe are missing that should be there.
I had an X-ray taken before I went to Christmas Island. I had an X-ray after I came back from Christmas Island. I don't know why they took the X-rays. I don't know the results of those X-rays, and I still don't know the results or why.
Because nothing was ever on your army medical records?
No, nothing is, and they wouldn't release it. How scandalous can that be?
If you had known the results of your chest X-ray or known what blood tests you had, what difference would that have made?
I lost a son, as most people will be aware. I desperately tried to get the reason why and failed. I was ill through a blood condition for no particular reason that I was aware of. And if Scotland Yard proceed with this case of gross misconduct in public office, then the truth will out, and that is what I want.
If you ever get a meeting with Keir Starmer, what do you want from him?
I want Keir Starmer to sit down, not to argue. That's the last thing I want. I want us to find a resolution that is suitable for the government of the day and for the veterans.
Do you want an apology?
An apology is absolutely essential. I am an 87-year-old man with pride for what I've done for this country, and I am devastated in the way that we, the veterans, are being denied justice.
John, thank you very much. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Well, a Ministry of Defence spokesperson told us that they refute these unsubstantiated claims, and ministers and officials acted properly based on the evidence available to them at the time. The Minister for Veterans and People has commissioned officials to look seriously into unresolved questions regarding medical records as a priority, and that this is now underway. Right, let's get a roundup of some of the day's other news now. And a man has been arrested on suspicion of attempted murder after the stabbing of a man and woman in Huyton on Wednesday. Armed officers shot the alleged attacker, who remains in hospital. A woman is still being treated for her injuries. The American singer Chris Brown has been remanded in custody after appearing in court in Manchester today. He was arrested at the Lowry Hotel yesterday and later charged with assault over an allegation of attacking a man in a London nightclub. He's due to appear at court in London next month. A bus driver has received a 2-year suspended sentence and been banned from driving for 5 years after pleading guilty to causing death by dangerous driving. 77-year-old Almina Amika died after being hit while using a pedestrian crossing in Manchester's Piccadilly Gardens 2 years ago. 11 people were also injured in the bus crash. And an application for a new inquest into the deaths of 50 people in the 1973 Summerland fire disaster has been rejected by the Isle of Man's Attorney General. A group representing some of the victims and survivors of the tragedy made a submission in March to reopen the case. A campaign group called the decision deplorable. Trading standards officers are urging people not to buy or use nasal tanning sprays after a BBC North West investigation found that they're widely available for sale across the region. The sprays claim to work by darkening skin pigment. Now, at the last election, the government promised to close the gap in educational achievement between rich and poorer students. And as part of that pledge, it's trialling free school breakfast clubs. It's hoped the childcare will improve punctuality and also ensure that pupils start the day ready to learn. Kevin Fitzpatrick's been to a school in Oldham to see how it's all going.
It's breakfast time in the school hall, with hungry children getting set up for the day ahead.
I've been having Rice Krispies in it and it was really good.
I really like the breakfast club because you don't have to eat at home even if you're in a hurry, and you can just have breakfast at school.
We get to spend time with each other before school as well as during school.
This is one of 7 primaries in Oldham which have taken up government support to provide this service, and a month in, it's proving popular.
It's made it a lot easier for me to get to work in the morning and beating the rush hour traffic to get into the centre of Oldham. And she loves it. She gets to spend time with her friends before school because all of her friends are here.
Just drop him off 10 minutes earlier. It alleviates the traffic. It means he doesn't need to have breakfast at home, so he sort of has a bit more time to come round in the morning. And all the children that do come here really seem to enjoy it.
Parents here could already pay for a breakfast club, but the new free offer has seen numbers double, and now 2/3 of pupils are having it. The head teacher says the benefits were clear straight away.
Massively improved our attendance and punctuality. We had quite a few children that were late on numerous occasions, and we've been working hard with those families to get them to school, so just giving them that extra time so they don't have to give the children breakfast in the morning, so that there's no rush. It's busy in the morning for families, working families. It's just the ability to be able to drop your children off and go to work and know that they'll have a healthy breakfast.
Nearly 100 schools across the North West were among the first to sign up, but the take-up in Oldham is higher than in other places, where some heads, as well as teaching unions, are saying the financial offer isn't enough to sustain the scheme.
It seems to be working well. I mean, obviously, this is an opportunity for us to sort of take stock, after the pilot has ended. I'm sure the government will then evaluate, as in terms of how the scheme has gone on, and then obviously respond accordingly. But so far, the feedback we have had in Oldham, it's been all positive.
This initial breakfast trial will run to July, ahead of an expected national rollout. Kevin Fitzpatrick, BBC North West Tonight, Oldham.
And the leader of Oldham Council will be one of the guests discussing that and other issues, including more mayors for the region, on Politics North West. That's on Sunday, BBC One at 10 o'clock. Right, here are some of the other stories that people are reading on the BBC News website this evening. Merseyrail is to test a new contactless tap-and-go ticket service. It was originally due to be introduced last autumn. A first phase will be on Northern and Wirral lines. The opening of a new Manchester park will be a catalyst for the area's development, says the council. Ancoats Green Park is part of a wider £40 million regeneration programme. And a group from Preston has begun a fight to save an historical church from closure. Brindle St Joseph's is due to close in August. Those stories and more at bbc.co.uk/local news, or you can find them on the BBC News app. Now, 6 teenage patients from Royal Manchester Children's Hospital will be taking part in the Great Manchester 10K run this weekend, along with hospital staff. Among the team are teens Izzy and Ayub, who were both left unable to walk due to rare illnesses. Stuart Pollitt reports.
Final training for Izzy and Ayub as they push towards the Great Manchester Run. A year ago, life looked very different for both of them.
I developed like a little bit of a cold, which ended up leaving me paralysed. So the cold I had ended up attacking my whole spinal cord, leaving me in ICU for 3 months. The doctor said that I was going to be ventilated for the rest of my life, but I ended up getting my breathing back, so I've become a lot stronger since then. It's a life-changing experience.
I had a brain hemorrhage. It caused me to be on ICU for like a month, and I had 3 brain surgeries, and then when I was on ICU last year, they didn't think I'd be able to walk.
Mrs. I can't do it. There we go.
Both have been undergoing physio since their illnesses with Emily and her colleagues.
Let's see how many reps you can do, because we'll get an idea of how strong we are.
Both of these children have slowly but surely regained as much movement as is possible depending on their injury. Doing things like standing frames, so practicing standing and weight bearing, practicing like muscle strengthening exercises. All of our patients are incredibly inspiring, incredibly resilient, brave people, and I definitely feel inspired by my patients.
Izzy, Ayub and the other 4 young people will team up with hospital staff for the run. The squad is raising money for the hospital's youth service, which the youngsters all used during their time as patients here.
What we're providing is someone to speak to, a safe adult that they can talk to about all the difficulties that come with being in a hospital. And being a teenager is tough at any time of their life, but being a teenager in hospital and not getting to go and see your friends and do everything that everyone else is doing, it can be really upsetting for young people.
The money for the trust would be the best thing because the youth service has helped a lot with my mental health in general.
It's very important because hopefully the money will go to helping other young people.
Izzy and Ayub have their eyes on doing something special at the finishing line.
I can't walk the whole 10k because of fatigue and that, but I am going to do like the last 1k on my own.
My plan was to start like wheeling myself towards like the finish line. I want to be at my strongest so I don't get too tired.
And for this pair, completing the 10k will be an important milestone on their road to recovery. Stuart Pollitt, BBC North West Tonight, Manchester.
Yeah, good luck to them both and to everyone running that 10k this weekend. We're going to go on to sport now. There's a lot of sport around, Ian. There's always a lot of sport around in this region, isn't there? But we've got 2 FA Cup finals this weekend.
Yes, Annabelle, Wembley glory or misery looms for Manchester City's men and Manchester United's women. For City, it's a big one, this. The team that always wins trophies will go trophyless this season unless they can beat Crystal Palace tomorrow. It's a season-salvaging kind of game for the Blues, for whom Kevin De Bruyne will play at Wembley for the last time before leaving at the end of the season. Ahead of the big day, BBC Radio Manchester's Mike Minay has been to see a couple of the players.
Would it be a salvation for Manchester City in a season that ultimately hasn't been as good as the ones that have gone before?
It's a special game for all the circumstances. It's a one-off game. Exactly what we must do, and even just the step to be ready on the day.
Collective to send Kevin De Bruyne off.
Yeah, he's Man City. Minds to give him the best possible goodbye.
Pleasure to be back at Wembley and trying to lift another trophy, which is never easy. In football is amazing. So. We will try our best to finish the season in a good way.
Striker Erling Haaland's called the season horrific and boring. Another trophy for his and City's collection would surely lift the mood. Mike Minay, BBC, North West Tonight.
You can tune into BBC Radio Manchester for build-up and commentary, and you can watch live on BBC One at 4:30 tomorrow afternoon, should you wish. It used to be the best day of the season, didn't it? Whole day of fun on both TV channels and the celebrity game beforehand. The good old days, eh? Anyway, back to the 21st century now. And holders Manchester United have a tricky task if they're to retain the Women's FA Cup. This was their semi-final win over Manchester City. On Sunday, they played WSL champions Chelsea, and the head coach is determined to beat them.
It's about just not accepting that just because they have the best resource that they have to be the best team on every occasion. And I think when you set yourself up for that challenge and you know that you're going to have to go through hell to get the victory, if you prepare for that, then I believe that you can do something special. And that's something that we want to do.
Manchester United's men are at Chelsea in the Premier League tonight. There's stadium naming news from Everton this evening. It's now called the Hill Dickinson Stadium. It was Bramley-Moore Dock to us all, wasn't it? After the club signed a long-term deal with the international law firm. And in case you didn't know, it's Everton's last Premier League game at Goodison Park on Sunday. We may have mentioned it this week. Hoping to play again, Southampton will be long-serving captain Seamus Coleman, who it's been confirmed is staying into next season. He's been speaking exclusively to our very own Julia Bold.
Seamus, beautiful day for it here at Goodison. Do you have a Goodison Park standout moment that you think of?
I do. I would have to say just making my debut here, to sign here as a reserve player and to actually get on that football pitch as a first-team player was probably the most memorable moment, because that's what you live for, that's what you dream for, that's what you work for, to be a Premier League player, and thankfully I got to do it that night. A night game as well, and to play a part in 2 goals, and yeah, I'll never forget it, and I'll never forget the atmosphere that night.
As Goodison Park gets ready to go then, you mentioned him there, David Moyes is back in the dugout. Seeing as he was the man who brought you here, does it feel a full circle moment that he'll see Goodison out?
Do you know what, for me, and you know, I'm not saying this for brownie points, he's not played me yet since he's come back. For me, he is Everton and he cares so much about this football club, and I think it's fitting that he's here to see Goodison off. I think it's fitting he's come back to get us out of trouble, and I think it's fitting that he's come back because he understands what the people in them seats want and expect, and he will you know, be the perfect man to lead us into the new stadium.
And what will you miss most about Goodison?
I'll miss everything about the place. It's hard to pinpoint one thing. You'll miss a drive in, you'll miss the familiar faces maybe that you see that might take a while to get used to seeing again. So it'll be emotional, it'll be sad, but I think better times ahead as well, and we have to look to the future now and thank Goodison for everything it's done. And when you look around now, you know, there'll be a fan base where that's seen the amazing nights in the 80s here, the semi-finals and stuff. So a lot of emotion, a lot of history in here, but it will be missed, but we're excited for the future. Just grateful that I got to play at the stadium, you know.
And you can hear loads more on Goodison across the weekend on BBC Radio Merseyside and on BBC Sounds. Now, we showed you last night how Oldham got through to the National League playoff semi-finals. Rochdale, though, won't be joining them. Despite going into a 3-1 lead at home to another former EFL side, Southend United, they ended up losing 4-3, which means Dale will start another season in non-league, unfortunately. England legend James Anderson is back today after injury, making his first Lancashire appearance since retiring from Test matches last year. They've been in action against Derbyshire at Emirates Old Trafford in County Championship Division 2. Lancashire batted first. This was Luke Wells on his way to making a brilliant 141. At close of play, Lancashire were 250 for 5 in their first innings. And I must say before we go, a huge game in netball for Manchester Thunder on Sunday. They take on Birmingham Panthers at the M&S Bank Arena in Liverpool, Annabelle.
Excellent. Thank you very much for all that sport. So, from sport, straight over to weather now. Abby's here this evening. The weather's just continuing to get nicer and nicer, isn't it?
It really is. The average sunshine in spring is about 357 hours, and we have already seen over 500 hours worth of sunshine this spring. So we've surpassed the 2024 summer sunshine amount, and that just is captured wonderfully, isn't it? As always, by our BBC weather watchers. If you would like to send a photo in to us at Northwest Tonight, all the details will be popping up on the screen behind me. You can send them directly into me on social media, or you can become one of our weather watchers and follow the link. Sign up. Those photos come directly into us at the Weather Centre. So the headline for this weekend, very similar. We've still got high pressure sat to the north of the UK, so it is going to stay mostly dry and settled. There is just that increasing risk of a few showers through Sunday and into the start of next week. But here's our high pressure. We're in a blocked weather pattern at the moment, so very little change. But it does look as though as we head towards the bank holiday weekend, so next weekend, things are going to change, eventually turning a little bit more unsettled. Overnight tonight, yes, it will be dry, but it will turn much cloudier. We're going to start to pull in quite a lot of cloud from the east, hanging on to 1 or 2 clearer spells, and where we do, our temperatures will drop a little bit lower, but under the cloud, they shouldn't drop quite as low as they have done in recent nights, around 6 or 7 degrees Celsius. So as we start the day tomorrow, quite a lot of cloud around, but it will head off quite quickly, so increasing amounts of sunshine, and that will boost our temperatures. We'll see highs for tomorrow of 21 or 22 degrees. The average for this time of year is around 16, so we are well above average in terms of our temperatures, and that's shown on our air mass. We're staying in this very mild air mass over the coming days, over the weekend and into the start of next week, with very little change as we head towards the bank holiday weekend. Sunday's looking a mostly dry day, plenty of sunshine, not as much cloud around first thing, perhaps a little bit of cloud across the eastern parts, but west is best again in terms of sunshine, 21 or 22 degrees. What the graphics isn't showing you, though, is any showers, and there will be the risk of 1 or 2 showers breaking out, I think, later in the day on Sunday. variable amounts of cloud on Monday and Tuesday, and again there will be a risk of an isolated shower, even though the outlook isn't quite showing it. It's sort of unstable atmosphere conditions Monday and Tuesday, and that's where the shower risk comes from. But the outlook sort of speaks for itself, doesn't it? Largely dry, staying settled, plenty of sunshine.
It looks lovely. I hope it doesn't mean, though, that this is our summer.
Yes, I know. There's always that risk, isn't there?
We want a bit more, don't we?
And if you've been watching all week, you'll know that we've been looking ahead to this weekend's historic last men's game at Goodison.
Yes, the Winslow Hotel has always been an integral part of Evertonians' match day ritual for over a century. So it was only fitting that we leave you with this homage to the ground, with singing from the band Goodison and their song Lights Under Goodison. Good night.
Good night.
Sing, it's a spiritual home where I am going. You might not reach me on my phone. Gotta do some rowing. Can't say these seats are made of gold. Race ball in! You have the answer! It's a spiritual home. Look at these seats! You might not reach me on my phone. Gotta do some rowing. Can't say these seats are made of gold. It's a spiritual home where I am going. You might not reach me on my phone. Gotta do some rowing. Can't say these seats are made of gold, but it'll be yours. It's a spiritual home where I am going. You might not reach me on my phone. Gotta do some rowing. Can't say these seats are made of gold. Goodison.